Hello and welcome to episode 1 of our Alpha 4 Let's Play right here in Ostriv. It is March 1721. Last episode we picked our campsite spot and our map. And let's go ahead and get right to work. Let's go ahead and pause the game real quick. So we're going to strategize a little differently here from the last playthrough I did, which was mostly based around efficiency and compactness. But because we have the option now to build houses without yards, I think that's going to give us a really nice opportunity to create a more organic feeling village. So that's what we're going to do. But before we unpause here, let's go ahead and get our production things started. Forestry, of course, is going to be first. So let's pop him. Say right about here. Sounds good. And we are going to also put down a clay pit right next to it. Just right like so. And then, of course, we're going to need a smithy to make nails and a thatchery. Let's do a smithy. Right, I know I just said I want it to be a little more organic, and here I am putting stuff in lines, but I think you'll like what we're going to be able to do here. So we'll put that guy right here. And then we'll lay the thatchery down as well. See all these reeds down here. I guess it doesn't really care. The game doesn't seem to take anything like that into effect, at least. But we'll put this right about there. And then, of course, we're going to have a farm set up as well. Try and get the women working and doing something this first summer. So let's find a spot for the farm. Now, we do have a ton of open space right here. This, of course, is the boundary on the map. One thing I did notice, I was checking this out earlier. See that green thing right here? This is actually where all of the inbound and outbound trade comes in. So when we go to build our trading post, I think we're going to want to put it right about here so they don't have to travel very far. So we'll keep this area kind of reserved for now. Maybe do a little bit more production stuff up toward here, so that makes that a little more efficient. But we need a nice open space for our farm. We could put it here. We could also go over here. But this area right here, this little peninsula thing, I think would be really, really nice to have houses and in a nice sweeping curve there. So we're going to go ahead and put our farm over in this area. So we're going to put the farm building itself maybe right about here. And that'll give our people something to do. Let's just make sure we have all of our men working as builders right off the bat. So we'll go ahead and 12 times that. So while they're doing that, I did want to take a moment and talk about a little bit of the other changes and stuff that's happened in this past update. You'll notice here, we can't see this until we build the town hall, but they've implemented a land tax. So any house that has the garden, the fenced-in area that all the other houses used to have just by default, they're actually going to be taxed on land that they own within the garden. So that's an additional revenue stream to keep track of, and of course they'll have different crops and things that they're building as well. And then we did talk about education, the primary school, so we'll mess with that a little later on. But we do need to make sure we're planning out for our stone mining camp, our limeworks, and our lime kiln, because when we get to build the saltworks, you'll notice this requires stone to build. We'll need some of that. So let's scope out the rest of the map while they're building these buildings real quick. I know we have stone here, and I believe limestone is going to be down here. So yeah, we got limestone there. And then down here is the edge of the map, so nothing there. More limestone here. I believe most of this is in this central island type area. So when we actually go and build up all that stuff, that'll have to be down here. This little cute island with a couple trees. Alright, anyway, forestry is done. So let's go ahead and hire these guys on. We're only going to really need 2 because one, we really only have a couple of adult men that are actually able to work. So let's go ahead and take 2 guys out of the building so they can go to the forestry, because we're going to need wood before we build hardly anything else. And this smithy should be done pretty soon. We can have one guy working there. Just need to make sure that these guys are getting wood, because we're going to need a ton to build houses. And of course, when the thatchery is done as well, that'll be fine. Now you see these guys carting stuff around. We've always had the camp cart park, and this has been around for a very long time in the game. But this new thing, trade and transport, the cart shed, this allows deliveries by up to 5 carts. I mentioned in the last episode that this is actually a fully staffed thing similar to the wagon shed. I believe that these carts are not able to be used by laborers, so we'll still have to build the cart parking as well. But this will vastly improve the way that we organize resources and hopefully reduce our dependence on horses as well, because that can be kind of a challenging thing to get going early game. So let's get these guys to finish this smithy real quick. They should be done more or less pretty soon. I'm really excited to start building construction offices, because if you remember my Alpha 3 Let's Play, it was a very frustrating thing trying to build something halfway across the map, because it would take months in game. Alright, so smithy is done. Yeah, and you see right here the thatchery can't find wood anywhere. That's why we built the forestry first. And they should be finishing that relatively soon. And as always, anytime you build a resource building, you're going to want to just go ahead and check all of these. Do that for the forestry. Oh, the forestry doesn't actually care. Alright, well, that's fine. We've got our man working here. And of course, how could we forget about charcoal? Another reason to build the forestry early. So let's go ahead and build. See if I can fit 3. I probably can't fit 3 in here. Nope, I was a little too eager here. So for now, 2 of these will be fine. We'll just apply to all. Can't find firewood. Well, they're making it, buddy. Hold on. Alright, now before we get too out of hand, thatchery. Of course, we're going to uncheck hire men, because we want the women working here before the farm is built. Alright, so they're going to get right to work making thatch. We're going to need a ton of it for houses. And one cool thing about this this newest update is, according to the changelog, the workers will actually begin supplying building sites long before they're actually able to be built. So what we can go ahead and do is we can actually start building houses, start placing them at least, before they finish. So we're going to have the first, say the first 9 houses will be houses with gardens, because that reduces the dependency on farms. So like I showed you in the last episode how you can have all these custom things. We won't mess with this too much right now, but we are going to go ahead and place all of these so they can just get right to work. We'll just do kind of normal size right here. So we'll do 4, we'll do 5, and then we'll flip these around, and then we'll do one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, and one of these. 10th house just for good measure. Let's actually make sure this connects right here. Alright, looking good. So that's going to be our 10 houses right there, and that'll take quite a bit of time. This farm will take a little bit more. If we can get the farm done, ready to seed before mid-May, we should still be okay to have a kind of decent crop for the first year. And that'll help us a lot as we are trying to develop our town. I just want to make sure that we have a very strong start to the first year, and then after that we're going to kind of chill out and just have a relaxing, aesthetically pleasing build. Let's check in on our thatchery here, see how the women are doing. Yes, we've already got 1,000 thatch there, going strong. And as soon as they get this farm done, and we will go ahead and get fields prepared and everything else. I always love seeing people just, kind of sitting here. It's not like they really have much to do right now. This is such a fun, good-looking game, even in alpha. I end up saving that a lot. Got gazebos and stuff. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's not just going to be grids and grids and grids like the last one. We can actually, make something look nice for once. I need these guys to hurry up and finish this farm. So we'll go ahead and we'll watch them take care of that real quick. Alright, so we have our farm. So now we're going to pause the game because there's absolutely no earthly way I could do this when it's actually running. And make sure this is all checked. We don't have any hay yet anyway, so we're not going to get oxen for another year or two anyway. Let's go ahead and hire our manager. After we uncheck hire men, we'll hire men again after a couple years, but the gender divide, as it were, in this game early on is pretty severe. There we go. So we have our manager, which means now we can hire workers. We're not going to have enough women to do that, so we can go ahead and get rid of 2 of these. But we need to place fields. And one of the things they changed, not in this past update, but relatively recently, is when you're placing a field, it'll actually tell you the size in units, up to 50 per side. So, of course, go big or go home. We'll do that, and we're going to have to maybe do a little bit of trial and error to make sure that we have the maximum size, 50 by 50. Let's see. All right, so I didn't go quite far enough down here. That perspective is kind of weird with this game sometimes. So I just want to get to... Oh, okay. Yeah, so this is the really fun part of watching a Let's Play that most people actually cut out, is all the trial and error. But, I like that kind of stuff. It's real, it's authentic, and that's why I always try to do it. Okay, so we're not going to quite get perfect, but first field, I remember the old meta used to be, for food, you'd go potato, buckwheat, potato, buckwheat, potato, and then fallow. I don't know if they've changed farming or not, so we're just going to go ahead and set that up for the first field. I know that since they have all the new... what do you call it? Garden-grown crops, that this may very well have changed. But we'll see what happens. I want to make sure we start having potato and buckwheat at the very least. And then stuff like sunflower and hemp will be very useful going into... Why is that too long this time? Okay. So let's come down like that. No, too long. Alright. What about that? Alright, again, pretty close. We'll do another weird little field right here. So I think, and people in the Ostriv Discord are really, really good about having specific crop rotations they like. I don't always like to follow all that stuff. I kind of like to figure stuff out for myself sometimes. So let's go ahead and start out with some wheat. And also we want to make sure we match up that our fallows don't overlap too much, because then you're not going to have any productivity. So this is using all 6 slots. This one's only going to use 3, so we're not going to want our fallow to be the last one, because that means that every other time this rotates, this fallow will be in line with that one. So I'm going to keep the fallow in the middle here, and your wheat takes these 2 nutrients. So we're going to offset it with hemp right here, which only really takes the blue. So that way, in a 3-year cycle, you have more or less full use of all that. We will check on that at a time. And then we're going to make another field right here. We should be able to harvest all of this relatively easily. And 50 units actually lines up really, really well here. So that's good. That's going to work out great for us. So we'll put this just right like that. It won't be perfect, but it'll be pretty close. So let's go ahead and do sunflower here. Sunflower and hemp should also match up pretty well. So I don't want to start fallow. I wonder if I could get away with doing sunflower, hemp, fallow, but then changing this to be something else. Anyway, we just need to get something going, so we're going to start that. And I think for the first year, these 3 should be enough. So we're going to go ahead and start that again. And we got to get the women involved here. They should get up here eventually. We can safely go down to 1 here. There we go. And they're not looking for jobs. They're doing all that. Of course, we don't have oxen yet for plows, so we're not going to be able to really do much of anything there. They're just going to, do their thing. They're sowing. And let's see, what else can we be doing? So they're still building the houses. Let's take a look and see. We need to build platforms. I always just like to put one of those there. And it did say in the patch notes that the citizens are now going to only use the closest available wells and markets. So we will need to make sure that we are placing wells in places where they can easily access them. So we'll put one right there. Of course, these will take forever and a day to get built, but can already go ahead and plan for it. So we'll put another one there. Then we will need to think about where we're putting markets. I think this general area, if I can remember where the... Yeah, see, right around here, we want to keep this for mainly trade and production, but we can have a nice little town hall area kind of right here. Because, of course, the mayor will always live in the first house, so that makes sense. So we're going to go ahead and find a nice-ish spot. In our last playthrough, we based the town hall around the original fire pit and all that. So that was fun, but we're going to try and build a pretty nice thing right here next to the mayor's house. See if I can get this to line up nicely. Just back that right up there. And that'll be in a pretty well centrally located in this upper part right here. And this whole queue won't be done easily through the end of the year. But we should be able, probably next episode, to go in and mess with all of the fun stuff with the economy. Or maybe, depending on how things are going here, I might just do a little time lapse. Okay, so we have our first house. So I can actually show you guys now a little bit more about how this finance stuff works. So this is going to be our mayor, and then I don't know if this is the manager at the farm. It's not. It's one of the workers at the farm. Okay. So you can see right here, this is their wealth coming in, monthly income $625, because the mayor always makes more money. And I believe the default wage for a regular laborer and a regular employee is 2.5. So this would be what the wife is making. And then you see this land tax, 0.26. Now, at this moment, I don't know if that comes out daily in the game or monthly. But this will come back into the city coffers every so often to help fund things. So that will be a big help for us. And then every other house, of course, will be paying tax as well. And we would go in here and put our houses that don't have gardens. I don't know if they pay tax. I would imagine they don't because they don't really have land. Farm's still doing their thing. Thatchery's still doing her thing. Let's check on our sewing. Okay, so they're finishing this. They're just about done, actually. I don't want this episode to get too long, so why don't we just watch some building? Good old-fashioned time-lapse like we used to have. Be back in a bit. Now, you might have just seen this pop up at the top of the screen. We were not able to finish the last 3 houses before winter came, unfortunately. So, we did have all those people move out. But, we did manage to build 6 houses, a farm with a successful harvest. Look at all that stuff. A smithy, a forestry, a thatchery, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, those people are leaving. These people are in the process of moving to a house. But yeah, we originally had, I believe, 27. And then people ended up moving out. Yeah, these people are headed out. It's not going to tell us anything, but yep. Those 3, actually, that's a child. They're just going to leave and they're just going to disappear. Yep. Bye-bye. Yeah, leave your kid. Just disappear into the ether and leave your kid to walk around by herself. That's fine. Parents these days, I'm telling you. But anyway, here's what we've got at the end of year 1. Had a farm with a successful harvest, and we managed to build 6.5 houses, I guess, technically. And these people aren't going to leave because the house is halfway built, I guess. Oh, so that's actually pretty good. That means we really only didn't build for 2 families. Must have been pretty big families, though, considering how many people are gone. So the next thing we've got to really make sure we get done is set up for trade and markets. But honestly, for the first little bit, it's not too shabby. Would have liked to have all the houses built, but you know, sometimes you just can't make things happen the way you want. But snow's falling, and that means it's also time for this episode to end. Thank you so much for coming along on our new Alpha 4 journey. And when we come back next time, we will be fixing all of the problems that were caused by all this not being done, and dive into a little bit more stuff and progress our town. And of course, the forestry is angry because there's not a second person, but we'll fix that. So yeah, we will catch you in the next episode.